Ladies and gentlemen, episode 194 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Last week, we spoke about all the fun we were going to have at Thanksgiving. Now it's a time to recap Thanksgiving and everything that came with it, all the heartbreak, especially for yours truly, and in a time to burn off some calories, get ready for the holidays, and put on some more calories. But other than that, there are sports that needs to be talked about in the NFL. This is probably going to be a very bad intro in Carlos's mind, but we're going to get right to the show. Episode 194 is next. Welcome into episode 194 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Do us a favor, give us a like, hit that share button, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Find us everywhere you get your podcast. For our sponsors, PM Plus Reserve, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, Shenandoah Music, and the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast, Don't Sleep Energy. Use promo code KOS podcast for 12% off your order every single time. I did not come alone. The weapon Dan Dembski joins me right now. Dan, my friend, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good, man. Ate way too much and enjoyed a lot of football. A lot of football on Thursday. There's football Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it was a loaded weekend of football and food and family. Good times indeed, man. Good times.
Well, I didn't feel as bad missing the Black Friday football game, given I checked in on the score and I was like, yeah, we know how this is going to go.
Didn't miss much. Yeah, didn't miss much there. So.
Adding insult to injury, the Swiss Army knife gets full rights over the Dallas Cowboys, the gobbling turkey leg eaters out of the Salvation Army Red Kettle. Carlos Martinez, I'm ready for it, buddy. The Commanders suck.
Kirby, you know who Olivia Rodrigo is, right?
I've heard of her.
Okay, excellent. Well, she has a song called One Step Forward, Three Steps Back. That is the perfect definition of your intro skills right now. One step forward last week, you had a great intro, and then this week, 3 steps back. That was the most god-awful intro I've ever heard. And you know what? It makes sense coming from a damn Commanders fan, and the Cowboys fan over here does the best intros, and I have, one of the best teams. So it makes sense.
One of the best teams with turkey leg gobblers out of the Salvation Army.
Please stop.
Stop. You're trying to make this happen, and it's not happening. Turkey leg gobblers, they're just turkey legs. What the fuck is a turkey leg? Excuse my French. Turkey gobbler.
Yeah, gobbler. He saw it somewhere. He's just jacking it
on Twitter, man. Get off of Twitter, you addict.
Well, gentlemen, it's past Thanksgiving. We have some stuff to talk about.
My Thanksgiving was fantastic. Thank you for asking, Kirby.
Yes, I figured yours was, given the result on Thursday. It was a given your Thanksgiving was good because of that. But anyways, we are past Thanksgiving. A loaded slate of football Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, and Monday. But as always, the standard customary lineup for this week's episode, we talk about our teams going to the Breeze and the Kirby on Sports PickEm. I find it only fair we start off with this this train wreck of a contest on the Commanders side of the football against the Dallas Cowboys, given, the final score, I don't think was really indicative, if you didn't watch the whole game, how semi-close. It was like 20-10, but then Dallas was like, okay, we just gotta pound out that lead, pound it out, just shoot to the moon. And obviously
the final score was indicative of the blowout.
The final score was indicative. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's like it was, the final score was indicative. You know what? That's enough out of you, Kirby. I just have one thing to do.
What is this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That was
yes,
great.
Sir.
Well
What
done.
is that? Another great Thanksgiving. We beat the Giants last year. We beat the Commanders this year. We're rocking the beautiful throwbacks, which I am currently wearing right now. Just had insult to injury to let Kirby see what a winning team looks like. We look good on Thanksgiving. You guys looked awful in your freaking away jerseys that just make no sense with all the dots on your numbers. Sam Howell is garbage. Deron Bland is a history maker. It was not a bland Thanksgiving. It was a very tasteful one with a lot of lamb in it. And Dak Prescott, congratulations on his announcement of becoming a father. Was incredible. MVP candidate. What more can I say? The Dallas Cowboys are amazing. Brendan Cooks had a day.
He was great.
Just, what more can I say? A beautiful, beautiful, complete performance by the team, capped off by that amazing Deron Bland pick six with that amazing call by Jim Nantz. And we send the Commanders with an L, and we can finally shush that whole, Sam Howell blew you guys out last week. That's the first game. He blew you guys out. Well, guess what? He had an opportunity again. What happened? He got his, stuff blown out.
Yeah.
So you're welcome, Commanders fans. We proved that Sam Howell was a phony.
Well, in result to that victory, and we will briefly touch on it, Jack Del Rio has been fired. So Ron Rivera taking over the...
It's okay. He's getting fired at the end of the year. We're all happy about that.
Yes. But as of right now, he will be taking over defensive play calling. But, I'm not really sure what else there is to add. We've pretty much covered everything wrong with the Commanders in past weeks. It seems to be the same stuff. That's secondary for the most part. I really don't think there's much else to discuss.
It's a broken record with the Commanders. It's the same old. So
a broken record. You hit the nail on the head, Dan. It's a broken record. People are trying to say, oh man, you just got to tweak this, fix the O-line. Nothing's working. Nothing's working at all. I don't see the Commanders winning another game this year. That's just my honest opinion. But
I don't know who they have left, but I'm pretty sure they'll win a game.
At least one.
Looking at their schedule, it's pretty tough. They have Miami next week.
Okay, yeah, probably chalk that up as a loss. That's fine.
And then you have the bye week.
Okay,
that's a loss.
That's a loss. Did you really say that?
Some teams lose to the bye week. The Commanders are one of them. What can I say?
So they have the Dolphins on December 3rd.
We already said that.
And then the bye week, then the Rams.
Okay, the Rams is a winnable game.
Yeah, that's a winnable
It
game.
is, but can the Commanders actually play good football?
Okay, go on.
Then the Jets, which
that should be
win. That's a win. You're playing against goddamn Boyle. You guys did play against Tommy DeVito, but
he was coming back. But I don't know.
Rodgers isn't coming back. Stop listening to that stooge. I'm sorry. Stooges do tend to listen to stooges, so I'm sorry. I forgot about that.
There is a massive
proceed.
And then wrapping up New Year's Eve against the 49ers.
That's a loss.
and the Dallas Cowboys.
And that's all. Well, we can't chalk that one up because at that point, Dallas might not be playing for anything. So they really might not even come out and really compete.
That might be the Commanders Super Bowl, just watching them beat Dallas once in a meaningless game.
Like last year, and where you guys immediately crowned Sam Howell as the heir apparent, immediately after. But
it was not a big enough sample size, obviously. And I
no, you don't say. Who's been saying that this whole entire season? That's what all you damn Commander fans have been hinging your faith in Sam Howell on is. Well, he blew out the Dallas Cowboys last year. Yeah. Well, guess what?
We didn't do it this year.
We showed it wasn't real. Yeah. It was a farce.
Yep.
Yeah.
But enough about your crappy team. Let's talk about my amazing team. Listen.
They look good. They look very good.
Listen, that's enough
game.
Out of you, you loser. All right, you get no speaking rights.
Hey, I'm
the remainder of the segment.
I'm just about how good
I did podcasting. Okay, no, but in all seriousness, no.
I just said,
look, no, the Dallas Cowboys, they looked fantastic. I mean, I want to apologize to Cowboys Nation though, because that stretch where nothing was happening was because I was not watching at that time. I was making the mashed potatoes, and as soon as I got done with the mashed potatoes and I sat down, it literally started back up. So I want to apologize. I walked away from the TV. I needed to make mashed potatoes. Okay, which were a hit, by the way. They always are. It's the greatest mashed potatoes you'll ever have.
Oh, absolutely. They're always a hit.
Kirby, you've never had my mashed potatoes.
No, I meant mashed potatoes in general. I'm sure yours are excellent, Carlos.
Okay. Anyways. So I like to send my apologies out to Cowboys Nation for that. And I'm
sure they forgive you.
They do, because when I came back, that's when
it all broke loose.
That's when it all broke loose, and then we finally got the Deron Bland pick six. Was just awesome. It's just it was so incredible. The call, just Jim Nance, though when he goes, man, it's gonna be sad when he finally retires.
It's really cool that Sam Howell's a part of NFL history,
right? Yeah. At least
he wanted to be.
At least he'll always be remembered.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
But yeah, no, it was a great all around performance by the Cowboys. Obviously, we're going into we're beginning our tough stretch here with, we got the Seahawks, we got the Eagles, we got the Bills, and then we got the Dolphins. We have 4 very tough games coming up, and it's good that we took care of business here on this easy part of the schedule. We went 3-1 basically. We almost beat Philly, which we'll talk about Philly later. But we get our rematch here soon, and I think I like how we're looking going into Thursday night right now, and go Cowboys.
Well,
yeah, it was just dominating, and I kind of agreed. I mean, obviously Carlos was right; they did have sort of a slow start, and I think I was just waiting for it to break loose, and then all of a sudden, boom, like a switch.
I knew it was going to happen.
It happened, and everything went wrong for the Commanders. So Dallas just dominated that game. So I wasn't surprised at how the outcome was. I think I was surprised about how fast it got out of hand, though. I think that's what kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah, it was like 25 points in like 7 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, it was nuts.
But that's how it's always gone against for Dallas in games like this against inferior teams is it just at some point it just breaks loose. There's just one event that just breaks it, and that it just happened, and then next thing you know, it's just an avalanche. It just keeps going wrong for the other team. You can't make mistakes against Dallas because, as you see, Deron Bland has 5 pick sixes, which is such an incredible stat. I can't believe it's never happened before. But yeah, there's just not much to be said. I mean, this is what Dallas should have done. And now let's see what happens now that they're facing against a fringe playoff team against the Seahawks on Thursday.
It's going to be very interesting, but a Thanksgiving waxing as the Cowboys defeat the Commanders. We take a short break. And then we have more to talk about on Carlos's end with the Kansas City Chiefs. Stick right here with us. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. And we welcome you back to episode 194 of the Kirby on Sports podcast, joined by the weapon Dan Dembski and the Swiss Army knife Carlos Martinez. And getting back in, we'll stick with you still, Carlos. The Chiefs over the Raiders 31-17, but the Chiefs off to a very slow start. What'd you see, Carlos?
Grogginess. Maybe they had too much turkey. I don't know. But they definitely came out super slow, super lethargic. It wasn't looking good. They got down 14-0 really quickly. But after that, it was just clinical by Patrick Mahomes. Finally, some guys were making plays. Rashee Rice, finally was being used more and, made the most of it. Took a lot of pressure off of Travis Kelce, and Kelce was able to have himself a day as well. It really started after the Jacobs touchdown. That just woke the Chiefs up, the Chiefs offense up, and made them realize that hey, we're not going to win this. Our defense is not going to have that dominant performance that they've normally having. So we got to go out there and we got to do something. It seems like in a way, Kadarius Toney and McCole Hardman, who is on IR now, so he'll miss the next 4 games. It seems like them being out and injured actually kind of forced the Chiefs' hand and made them have to play Rashee Rice more, which he proved that, hey, he's got the ability to play a bigger role on this team. And, it was just, a standard Chiefs win over the Raiders, nothing to harp home about too much. This is what they need to do. They need to win out here if they want to keep control of their destiny to get the number 1 seed, and, continue having, and keep the 6th annual Arrowhead Invitational, going. But Baltimore's going to make it tough, man. But Baltimore's got some tougher games coming up for them than Kansas City does, especially now considering that, the Bengals don't have Joe Burrow anymore and the Bills are essentially done. Although I'm pretty sure they're still going to want to get up for that game. But for Kansas City, it was definitely important that they get back on track and score some second half points after not being able to score any, and to kind of bounce back from that very, kind of demoralizing, loss in the Super Bowl rematch to the Eagles, where it just felt like the Eagles didn't win that as much as the Chiefs lost that game by not being able to execute.
No, well said. And I think you can never count Mahomes and the Chiefs out. And when they went down 14-0, I just thought they'll start to put it together, and just then they did. So, there's a reason the Chiefs are the gold standard in the NFL now, and have been for some time. They just win. Quite simply, they win, and they beat teams they should beat most of the time. I would say there's been a couple games this year where maybe they shouldn't have lost to Denver, but Denver is. But we're going to talk about them. They've improved a lot since like week 3, week 4. So
since week 6, because they were 1-5.
True. Damn, I thought it was a little better than that, but I didn't.
No, they came back from a 1-5.
It's crazy. It's just crazy. So. Yeah, Kansas City just does what they do, man. They just win, simply.
What I liked about Kansas City, too, is like Rashid Rice got in 107 yards and a touchdown. It just seemed like a lot more weapons for Patrick Mahomes.
Spread the ball out.
Yeah, spreading the ball out instead of just going to Kelsey.
Well, again, what was the main issue with Kansas City in, say, the loss against the Lions and the loss against the Eagles? It was guys not catching the ball. Guys were catching the ball again. And we see that when guys are catching and are actually making some plays, Patrick Mahomes is putting it in their hands. They just have to execute and make the plays. They can win. I mean, this isn't, like I said, this isn't that much different of a receiving core than last year when they won the Super Bowl. This is essentially most of the same characters minus Juju Smith-Schuster. So there's really no reason why this team shouldn't be, playing at this level and looking this good against the Raiders than when they play like the Eagles or when they play the Lions, because all it was just drop passes and then, of course, dumb penalties. And they kind of cleaned that up a little bit in this game. There weren't a lot of terrible penalties in this game. There were still penalties, but not, not debilitating ones. And again, guys were making plays, and they didn't throw to Justin Watson 11 times.
Yeah. And I think too is like, I think a concern for the Chiefs could be definitely running the football. Only 55 yards for Pacheco in this game. Now, I know you're playing the Raiders. It's a weak secondary. And
but I will say Pacheco's running was still effective, even though it was only 55 yards. It still felt very effective.
Sure. Yeah. I'm just saying, if we expect the Chiefs to, again, make another deep run to the playoffs, which, as you said, Carlos, this year it might not happen just because of some of the factors. But listen, they're still Kansas City. They're still going to be, they're still going to have a shot at that. So, but yeah, maybe that's a concern for the long run. But as long as they have Mahomes, they're going to be, they're going to be right in the thick of things, if not in those games to get a chance to go to the Super Bowl. So, yeah.
Aiden O'Connell's terrible, by the way.
What's that?
Aiden O'Connell is awful.
Oh, he's really bad. Yeah.
That's who the Raiders are sticking with
for now. For now.
That's another team.
See what happens. We'll see what happens after the season.
Again, we spoke about this last week. Just the amount of backup quarterbacks in the league right now, like starting.
Just bad quarterback play across the league in general.
Absolutely.
This year.
Can we touch on this real quick? Do we agree with Tom Brady?
Yes or no?
Did we talk about? Did we? I think no. We already talked about this, didn't we? Last time?
I think we touched on it,
but I don't think we really went it. But do we agree with him that there's a? We had this discussion. It's not coming to me. We already had this discussion.
I think his point about changing the rules and stuff is funny to me, because most of the rules changed because of him. As far as quarterback,
there was the injury, his ACL injury was because of a hit to the knee.
Right. So
hilariously, it was a Kansas City player who did it.
Not to mention the more strict roughing of the passer, and you can't hit the quarterback like you used to be able to like 15 years ago. We all know how the rules have changed, but Brady really kind of spearheaded a lot of those changes, because we can't let the NFL.
Brady benefited a lot.
So, and he complained to the refs a lot too. So. Yeah, it's just funny to me that he brings that up, which I'm like, that's.
Well, I guess maybe in terms of just quarterback play, like
he's right.
He's right. Quarterback play is terrible now. Yeah. I mean, you're not finding a lot of great quarterbacks anymore. I mean,
we're at that sorry, go ahead.
I mean, comparatively, like think about quarterback play 10 years ago. You had Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, you had Drew Brees, you had Phillip Rivers, you had Tony Romo, you had God, I'm trying to go through you had Russell Wilson at that point. Well, I think he was just a rookie at that point. You had, I'm going through the list here. You had I don't think Alex Smith was playing at a high level yet. Guys, throw out another name here.
McNabb, back in the day,
in 2012, 10 years ago. McNabb wasn't playing. You had Vic.
You have Vic. McNabb wasn't playing in 2012.
I'm not sure. Well, at least he wasn't playing at a high level anymore.
Yeah.
I think he was a free agent, or
I guess I'm thinking.
And
I'm not talking about the McNabb on Washington.
Well, that's what I'm saying. By 2012, he was already in the Washington thing. I think had already happened.
Yeah,
I think he was a backup for somebody. I don't really remember, but
I don't know what happened after. I don't remember what happened after Washington with McNabb. But yeah, I mean, but again, like think about all the guys I listed. Those are all incredible quarterbacks.
Well, and this goes back to what we talked about before. They don't let quarterbacks develop anymore. They don't let, teams aren't building around these quarterbacks. All those quarterbacks you mentioned, especially Peyton Manning, look at the start of his career. He
was terrible.
Terrible.
It was awful.
Right. He was terrible. The Colts had nothing around him, and he didn't make the playoffs until his 4th season or something?
Something like that.
So it took him a while to sort of get to where he got to. I think
the instant gratification that our culture has become nowadays is like everybody wants the results now. They don't want to wait for it. They don't want to go through a process, i.e. Kirby over here with his Commanders and wanting things to have immediately changed when they got a new owner and getting frustrated about it.
I will defend him. He has been better than a lot of Commanders fans. I've seen him.
I agree, but he's still been insufferable about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you may not be. Oh God, that was going to be a bad analogy. You may not be expired milk, but like you're like 3 days away from it.
Okay. Let me bring up a good point though. Jeez.
Oh, that was a good one.
Okay, but let me bring up
cottage cheese, baby.
That quarterback class that you listed off, all those fun quarterbacks that every Sunday we go on and be like, oh, Manning's going to put on a show. Breeze is going to put on a show. I mean, Breeze broke a record on Monday night against the Commanders, obviously, the then Redskins. But,
have to bring it up.
Yeah,
because that was so irrelevant.
But anyway, you hear about all these quarterbacks that are, I know this quarterback's going to go off. This quarterback's going to do great. So on and so forth. I think, I think every single one of them are retired now. I don't think there are any. I mean, that quarterback class is all retired.
And our childhood is gone. We already established that.
And I don't think there's going to be another class like it because of the way the NFL is right now.
I can't say that because the talent level is high in quarterbacks, just athletically and all that stuff. It's just the problem is teams aren't developing them anymore because they're going through head coaches like crazy.
Yeah.
And all that. So I can't sit here and say that we'll never have one. It's just the league as a whole needs to start shifting their mindset and understand, and fans as well need to understand that, like, hey, it doesn't happen overnight. You don't get, you don't get to Kansas City, overnight. That place, I mean, think about it. How long has it been since Kansas City has been successful? It's not like they've always been here, at this level. It took them a while to get to this point. They had to bring in Andy Reid. Then Andy Reid needed time to
establish his culture,
establish the winning culture, the championship culture that he had in Philadelphia. Of course, he didn't win any Super Bowls in Philadelphia, but the Eagles were always a successful team. They were always in the in the playoffs. They were making deep runs. They were just never able to finish the job. But so Andy Reid knew how to build a winning culture. And we're supposed to be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs here. We still got to talk about Dan's Ravens. We're so off topic here. But
I think it's a good conversation.
It is a good conversation. But again, like the Carolina Panthers, they just fired Frank Reich. I know we wanted to touch on that a little bit. I don't think that's fair to Frank Reich. You literally traded away the farm to get this undersized rookie quarterback
with no line.
You traded away so many assets. You traded away what would have been his number one receiver, and you expect Frank Reich to somehow get this correct immediately in his first year. Like, this doesn't make any sense. You're not giving this guy any opportunity to establish his culture, bring in his guys, nothing like that. I mean, what head coach really wants to come to Carolina right now? They have nobody, and they don't have a first-round draft pick this year because they traded it to Chicago. And so for me, it's just like you're not always going to you're not going to get a CJ Stroud. And also Houston has some decent pieces in place that helps a rookie quarterback like CJ Stroud. And they have a good head coach who you can really tell that team takes on his personality. Yep. Whereas, usually, like, if you had the first round pick, like, let's see who's going to get it this year. Probably Chicago, if I want to guess, because since they have Carolina's pick, I mean, they don't have that winning culture. They do have a lot of pieces, but they don't have the winning culture. So, I mean, whatever they decide to do with that first round pick, it'll be interesting. I'm trying to think of another bad team. I mean, that needs a quarterback. I can't think of one. Like the Giants, for instance. The Giants. Yeah, let's go with the Giants. Like, let's say the Giants get Caleb Williams somehow, right? I don't think they are. I think at this point they've played themselves out of it by winning these past couple games. But let's say they do get Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams isn't going to succeed immediately. He's going to struggle because he's not going to have a good offensive line. There are no good weapons there. Saquon Barkley's probably packing up and leaving town, this offseason. So he's not going to have a great running back. That defense is not great. Apparently, Brian Daboll and Wink Martindale are not on speaking terms right now. So Wink Martindale's probably gone at the end of the year. And Giants fans need to understand that they're going to need time for Brian Daboll to really, establish what he wants there. I think them making the playoffs the first year is definitely hindering them because I think they thought they were further along in the rebuild than what they are. But like, that's the thing, is that, like, these rookie quarterbacks, you're not going to get a Patrick Mahomes situation where the first year he starts, he's the MVP, because again, he came into a perfect situation with a very good team, great system, great coach,
good starting quarterback there.
Yeah, he sat behind for a year, came in. This was already a championship ready team. You're not going to get that with just because you get a special talent like Caleb Williams. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you have to see the bigger picture. If you're a general manager, you have to think,
and an owner.
Yes, and owners as well. You have to think of not just we have to get this one player. We have to get this one player, and then doing what the Panthers have done and trade away everything and get rid of your top talent to get one player, and then that player has no one around him. The smart thing to do is to I think first and foremost, have at least one or two veteran guys on, if it's a quarterback, for example, have at least two veteran guys on offense, whether that be a receiver, running back, whatever. So at least there's someone there who's familiar. Number one, familiar with the system, because that's the other thing too. You want to have guys familiar with that specific system who can sort of not mentor the quarterback, but sort of help them along, help a rookie quarterback along. Because as Carlos mentioned last week, like, these quarterbacks, they're playing in much easier, less complicated systems in college. We all know that. So you want to have someone who can sort of take you under their wing and say, hey, welcome to the NFL, and this is how I can help, type of thing. That just doesn't happen now. It's just like these guys are drafted like Bryce Young, and it's okay. You just thrown into the wolves immediately with no help at all. And, is heavily criticized in the fact that he hasn't performed well. And it's like, well, if you look at what he has, which is nothing, and no offensive line, he's running for his life. It's just a bad situation for a quarterback to be in. And then you take a rookie quarterback's head coach who's only been there for one season, not even a full season, and you fire him. There's probably some good rapport there, I'd imagine, with Bryce Young and Frank Reich, and that's immediately shattered. So now that relationship has to be rebuilt with a new coach. You have to probably learn intricacies of a new system. It's a mess. It's a mess. You can't have that turnover like that and expect your team to be competitive in the slightest. And it's the reason why teams like the Panthers are going to continue to struggle, because they don't have any continuity. And, you know, it's like Carlos said at the top, it's all about instant gratification. We draft these star players and we want our teams to win 12 games. It's not possible most of the time.
Within the core,
there are situations where it does happen. I would say Russell Wilson was an example where he was drafted and rather quickly became a star quarterback, but that was a pretty good offense as it was. And
then of course they had the Legion of Boom already at that point.
Right. A great defense as well. So that makes it easier on the rookie quarterback as well. So there are situations where it works. It's rare. And most of the time teams don't have the patience, time, or money spend the capital to make it happen. So that's why they're going to continue to struggle and lose big football games and a lot of football games.
Within the course of a calendar year, and I saw this, Tepper, which is Carolina's owner, I think, fired Matt Rule and Frank Reich.
Yeah.
I mean,
Matt. They should have never hired Matt Rule to begin with.
But that was the old regime, I think, that hired him, or was that Tepper who hired him? I can't remember.
It might have been the old regime.
It might, I think it might have been the old regime.
No, because he also fired Ron Rivera.
Oh yeah.
No, so Tepper brought in Matt Rule.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see where the issue lies here.
Yeah, it's an owner who just is. He's not willing to wait for success. And I understand you paid a lot of money for the team, but hey, you got to understand it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yep.
You know, you don't bring in a guy like Frank Reich and not give him, and give him only 11 games to try and, prove himself. Like, what is that? Like, Frank Reich is not Urban Meyer, like, at all. I don't know. It's just dumb.
Carlos, not to mention the two soccer coaches he fired too.
Yeah, but Charlotte FC is a startup team, so it doesn't really.
Yeah, they literally just.
Yeah, they literally just started playing like 2 years ago. So that's. Yeah, I don't know. It's.
They're a mess.
I mean, just to answer, I think Brady's correct to certain extents, but he also benefited a lot from some of the things that he was mentioning is a problem. So
I certainly agree.
And now we can finally close on the my Kansas City Chiefs talk.
That was a full circle moment right there.
Yeah, indeed.
The Chiefs get it done.
God.
If we had a very interesting conversation.
We had a very interesting detour.
About a detour about quarterbacks in this league and everything else, and we touched on Frank Reich getting fired, obviously.
Well, we knocked out a couple things, but now we got to talk about Dan's team.
We take a short break and we get to the Ravens' victory over the Chargers, which, might I add, Dan wrote the Ravens off early.
Hey, Kirby on Sports Podcast listeners, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate here. It may seem scary or daunting at first to think about buying or selling a home. Well, look no further. Give me a call, 540-247-1527. There's nothing more than I love to do than help my friends make those transactions fun, interesting, and at the end of the day, productive. Look me up online, iconsells.com, and even better, find me on my podcast, Iconic Talk, with my co-host Megan Eanes on any podcast platform. We will share all the local news about real estate markets and our local community. It's educational. Look us up. We love to help you. iconsells.com, 540-247-1527. Josh?
Bedbugs. The only thing creepier than thinking about them is actually having them. Trust me, you don't want to have them. Locally owned and operated Barrett Pest and Termite Services can keep you from having bedbug nightmares and infestations. Call 540-340-3922 to schedule your free inspection and consultation. If bedbugs are already in your home, we'll get rid of them so you can rest easy. We also specialize in keeping homes and businesses free of other pests, including rodents and termites. That's Barrett Pest and Termite Services, 540-340-3922.
And we're back.
That was a dirty move by you. That was a dirty move.
Had to say it and go to
you threw Dan under the bus, and then you, like a coward, threw it to commercial. No, I will not let that stand.
Thank you,
okay?
Carmen.
And I will not let you get away with that. We were not going to forget that. That was a dirty move.
No, it was just it's just one of those things where it's like it's not
I hit the button by accident. Is that what you're gonna say?
No,
I clicked
it's one of those things where you think the team's gonna come back. Oh, this game's over. Dan manifested good luck, and the Ravens won.
I had the reverse juju. What can I say?
Yeah, we're not even talking about that. We're just talking about your move here to call Dan out, throw him under the bus, and then go to commercial. It's not about what was said. It's about what you just did.
No.
If you could have said it after the commercial, I would.
Or given Dan an opportunity to respond before you throw it to commercial.
Well, Dan, you counted them out, but they won. How do you feel?
Well, obviously,
how about you? Hold on. How about he says what happened, like define, the score and all that stuff?
Yeah, give us the rundown, Kirby. Go ahead.
Let me give you the rundown. On Sunday Night Football, the Baltimore Ravens
cream cheese strikes again.
Spread it on the bagel.
Waiter, can I get a bagel with cream cheese, please?
Oh, they're just gonna throw you on it then.
Okay, so the Ravens beat the Chargers 20-10.
Correct.
And improved to 9-3 on the season. And yeah, I mean, overall, just the Chargers, they chargered again, and the amount of turnovers they had,
it was bad.
Yeah, pretty
bad. The Ravens defense is great. I mean, let's call it what it is. They saved our ass in this game. Throughout most of it, the fact that our offense was pretty stagnant throughout most of this game, especially in the third quarter. I'm like, oh my God, can we please just have a decent play call for once? And why we decided to abandon the run. I'm gonna get to all that. I'll start with the defense and just tip my cap to them and just say what a great game they played, holding the Chargers to just 10 points, forcing 4 turnovers, and really pretty much dominating this offense. The defense also held the Chargers on 4th down on the last 2 series of the game, which were obviously key. The second to last series, which led to the Ravens rushing touchdown by Zay Flowers. That was pretty much the icing on the cake. And then, of course, the last stop that led to the end of the game. I was just extremely impressed with how the Ravens defense played in this game. It's not easy going up against Justin Herbert. He's a solid quarterback, I would say. Although he usually comes up short in these types of situations, and
freaking love him, and it's so annoying.
Yeah,
it's like, guys, there's a difference between what you nerds like and what we're actually seeing on the field, and he just does not have it right now.
Yeah, he doesn't have it. It almost feels like, and the excuse is made for him, well, he doesn't have enough weapons. Well, he's got Keenan Allen, he's got Gerald Everett. Those 2 guys have been there for a while, and they're pretty solid players. So I'm just saying a lot of quarterbacks don't even have 2 solid guys to throw the football to. Just saying. And, of course, the Chargers also have Eckler running the football, and he's pretty solid as well. He was not in this game. The Ravens had him bottled up.
Whenever it comes to a big game, Eckler never shows up.
10 rushes, 32 yards, boys. The Ravens defense was ferocious in this game. Pretty much kept the Chargers at bay. Especially early in the game, I felt like the defense was certainly the Chargers were driving on several occasions, but it seemed like as soon as they got at the 50 or just past the 50, the Ravens defense would step up and make the big play to get off the field. And I think that's what's most impressive to me. Also, of course, the 4 turnovers, the Herbert interception, and then I think it was 3 fumbles, if I'm not mistaken there. I have to go back and check. Fumble. Yep, 3 fumbles, 2 in the second quarter, 1 in the third quarter. So the defense was just out there, just all over the place. And I feel like we hit Herbert a lot too, which was key in this game to get him to be inaccurate with the football, obviously. And again, I hate it when they have the graphics that compare this defense to like the defense of Ravens past. especially the 2000 Ravens defense. I hate when they do that because it seems like right after that there's a big play. And I think after the one graphic was the only touchdown the Chargers scored. So I was like, oh boy, here we go. Like, this is just the beginning of the end. But yeah, I have no complaints about the defense. Once again, they have they dominated this game pretty much from start to finish. And I was stressed for the defense, especially with the way the offense had played, which I'm going to flip now and just ask why we continue to stop running the football, especially with Keaton Mitchell when it's proven that it's successful and he's picking up 8-9 yards a carry, and why on the biggest play on 3rd and 4 he's standing on the sidelines. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And the play calling in this game, I think, was particularly brutal. I think I saw some Ravens fans say there were 4 or 5 bubble screens in this game or something along those lines, which is something that boggles my mind. Maybe you should run it once or twice a game and that's it. I guess because Todd Monken felt that the Chargers were getting a lot of pressure on Lamar, which they were. The offensive line was brutally bad in this game. Especially, I felt at times Ronnie Stanley. Let me see, who else was it who was getting beat a lot? I can't think right now off the top of my head. It might have been anyway, doesn't matter. I just felt like the Chargers were getting constant pressure on Lamar, and that's a situation where I think you do run the football because it, especially in between the tackles, it allows it sort of wears out the defensive line, and then you're able to throw it more effectively, which I think the Ravens just, for whatever reason, they just seemed out of sync in this game, similar to what I would say we saw earlier in the season with their loss.
Can I interrupt real quick and ask a quick question? Do you think not having Mark Andrews out there is starting to show? I mean, this is the first game they didn't have Mark Andrews.
Yeah, maybe so. And I think obviously Tirico made mention of that as well, because he's such a big part of their offense most of the time, especially on 3rd down in those situations where he's a security blanket for Lamar. I would say yes. But I think the long-term solution, obviously, for that is you have to learn to play without him. Mm-hmm. And they did get Isaiah Likely more involved in this game. He had a couple catches, and it was good to see him get involved. And then I do like some of the play calls late in the game, which, I'll talk about the game-clinching touchdown by Zay Flowers, which was a great play call there in that situation. I
almost felt like Zay Flowers took the ball from Lamar, though.
Yeah, it seemed like
it didn't seem like Lamar actually wanted to give him the ball, but Zay was like, "Nope, I see it, I'm taking it."
Yeah, it seemed like a read option where Lamar was probably going to pull it down and run, but I'm very glad that Zay took the ball from him and saw that, because as soon as he got it, I was just like, oh man, he's gone. Like, there was a huge gap there, and he's so fast. There's no one on the defense who can catch up to him. So, yeah, I think this game was sort of, as you said, Carlos, the Ravens trying to learn to play without Mark Andrews, and, especially getting in the red zone, which another problem in this game. Justin Tucker missed a 44-yarder, which was tough to see.
His all-time field goal percentage. Now he's in 2nd.
Yeah.
I really don't think the percentage matters. Justin Tucker, we still all know he's an elite athlete, an elite kicker. But kickers are going to miss. It's like,
well, and he's got 300 more, not quite 300 more attempts than young Hoku anyway. So it's like, call it what it is there. It's like he's still probably good. But that is concerning because he has had, I think he's got 3 misses this year.
He's definitely had a very uncharacteristic rough season.
Yeah.
But Justin Tucker's rough season by his standards is like any kicker's best season.
Really good.
So like, it's not. I mean, listen, it's gonna happen. Like, we saw last year with the Chiefs, Harrison Butker. He was awful, for a majority of the season. Now, granted, he got injured early in the season, and it was just an injury that never went away. So it definitely affected his kicking. But again, it happens. Who's to say that Justin Tucker's healthy? We don't know. Maybe there's a nagging injury that's kind of causing him to not play his best. We don't know. But I just want to touch really quick on a point you made about, running the ball more because there was a lot of pressure on Lamar. Look, this is around the time when Lamar normally gets hurt. At least the past few seasons, it's been around this time of the season.
And they mentioned that too.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So they need to protect him more, especially right now, because if Lamar can make it healthy into the playoffs, it's going to be a problem. And the problem is he hasn't been able to make it all the way through the season. So the running game is working. I also don't understand why you guys are going away from it. And I think definitely that's something that they need to evaluate over this bye week, obviously because, and make some changes to this offense that need to be made so that you guys can finish the season strong, get into the playoffs, possibly have the number 1 seed, and force every team to come to Baltimore. And that way you don't have to go through the Arrowhead, the 6th annual Arrowhead Invitational.
Yeah, no, I perfectly said. And it's just funny too, because it's like we're moving the ball, in chunks. Then all of a sudden we just decide, we're going to throw it on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down. And then, on 4th and 3, we're going to go from the shotgun, which just don't even get me started on that, because that's something that's ridiculous as well. That I've seen a lot of teams do that, and I've never understood why on 4th and whatever teams go, especially 4th and short, teams are going from the shotgun. But I think it's like in these dominant wins they've had, like if you think like most notably about Detroit, it was all about establishing the run first, and then the play action pass was a lot easier for Lamar, had more protection, more time to throw it. And the defensive line is more worn down. That's, to me, is what the recipe for the Ravens needs to be moving forward. And you're spot on about Lamar staying healthy too. Having an effective ground game with Keaton Mitchell and Gus Edwards, which he needs to get more involved in the running game as well. He didn't really have much of an opportunity in this game. Will allow that passing game to become more of a weapon, and on those quick slant routes to Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, who I thought had a pretty good game. They don't need to do anything fancy in the passing game, really. I mean, they have some speed with obviously speed with Zay Flowers and speed with Bateman. They have guys who can get to the middle of the field like Odell Beckham, and he runs pretty good drag routes. That's a route that has worked forever. It's not complicated, I don't think, for the Ravens. I think they're trying to overcomplicate things, and the problem is when it gets to that point, the quarterback, Lamar needs time to throw. And in this game, unfortunately, the Chargers defensive line was not allowing him to get to buy any extra time like he normally would. And again, I shouldn't complain too much about the offense, but it just felt like they were 2 steps forward a couple weeks ago, and now they've taken 2 steps back. But I think there are growing pains playing without Mark Andrews, but just stick with what worked in those wins as well. Just run the football. Play action pass and let Lamar be Lamar. He's going to have some nice runs in the game. Let him have a couple nice runs, but don't, make sure he doesn't run too much because you don't want him to get hurt. Even though his previous injuries were all in the pocket, but don't tell the analysts that, because they say, oh, he runs too much. But they don't say it about Josh Allen. But, again, I'm not going to.
Yeah, but Josh Allen is built differently where his body can absorb those kinds of hits. Lamar's a very lanky guy, and a lot of it is normally soft tissue injuries. So
that's fair.
It's a little different.
Fair point. It's a fair point. And I think that's all I have to say. This is a championship level defense. I think if the 100%. Offense if Monken can just put together a solid game plan week after week.
We've seen the offense play at a championship level. So
yeah.
We know they're capable.
It's absolutely doable if you have the right game plan.
Yeah, it's just the play calling needs to be more consistent. Like, stop trying to get cute, too, because that killed us several occasions in this game, too. And, and the defense bailed us out pretty much every time, so I can't complain about how they played. So, yeah, I think that's all I got. I'm really happy for this bye week. It gives us a chance to rest very late in the season, obviously, and then a tough 5-game stretch to finish out. Of course, the Rams game, which, the 3-man booth will be in attendance for, and then at Jacksonville, at San Francisco, and then hosting Miami and hosting Pittsburgh in the last game of the season. So very tough games down the stretch for Baltimore.
Yeah, you guys are definitely going to get tested, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing, you know, especially going in the playoffs, going against these tough teams. At least you'll be able to measure yourselves against one of the best in the NFC, and you'll be able to measure yourself against, you know, a team that last year you guys had one of the most epic games. This time, at least it's going to be a little later in the year. Is that game in Miami or is it? It's
in Baltimore this year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they're gonna have to come to the cold because by then it'll definitely be cold in Baltimore.
It's true.
It's looking good. The San Francisco game is definitely the game that I'm most interested in.
That's tough.
Sure.
It's gonna be a tough one. Yeah, definitely. That's all I got, boys. I'm very happy with 9-3, number 1 seed right now. Obviously, that'll probably change after this weekend, but yeah, I can't complain too much. And I shouldn't give up early, as we said at the top.
I feel like we had this conversation earlier in the year where you gave up way too early, and I was like, dude, have some faith.
Couple times.
It ain't over till the fat lady's singing.
True.
On the other side, I just want to briefly touch on just the Chargers. And again,
and how Dallas was correct in letting go of Kellen Moore because it turns out Kellen Moore was the issue.
Yeah.
And his offense really actually does. Sure, they put up great numbers and stuff, but it's not translating to wins at all. Justin Herbert doesn't look any different. I'm not saying Kellen Moore is awful. I'm just saying that in terms of just, you know, in hindsight, it definitely looks like it was a good move to move on from him, and we'll see what happens with him in the future, whether they're going to keep him there in Los Angeles or if they're going to clean house completely, because it's obvious. Staley's got to go.
Oh, he
has to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the seat's getting a little too warm for him.
Oh, it's been scalding hot for some time.
Well, I mean, again, the report came out. You know, we're looking at 7 to 10 coach firings this
lot
cycle. So
Schefter's reporting, thinking he's like taking the over on the amount of coaches that are going to get fired this year.
Yeah, coaching is bad too. We talked about bad quarterback play. There's been a lot of bad coaching as well. So I think Staley kind of leads that charge, if you will. Yeah, he hasn't been good. And the fact that he can, he feels like he has the right to get testy with the media is a whole other issue. But it's like, dude, you have nothing. I mean, come on. Let's call it like it is.
Yeah.
So the Ravens over the Chargers 20-10. That wraps up our teams in this past week in the NFL. And when we return, the breeze around the NFL and the Kirby on Sports PickEm. You don't want to miss it.
It's Matt from Shenandoah Music, and there has never been a better time to give the gift of music. These are our best deals of the season, with 30% off student band instruments, 10% off Fender American Pro guitars, 10% off Zildjian cymbal packs, and even more. And we've got gift cards and layaway available. Plus, you can buy now and pay later with the Shenandoah Music credit card, or you can pay with the firm. So when you think music, think Shenandoah Music in Winchester, across from B-Dubs.
Hi, this is Mark Peter Lynch with Guild Mortgage. One of the greatest joys in doing business over the last 30 years in the Shenandoah Valley is helping people buy their first home. Buying their first home and putting the keys in their hand at the closing table has brought me so much joy. If you want to buy your first home, a second home, or an investment property, or build wealth through investment in real estate, give me a call. My phone number is 540-664-4700, or you can find me on the World Wide Web at www.marksmortgage.com.
Gentlemen, it is that time of the show. It is time for the breeze around the NFL. Dan is having slight technical difficulties, but we'll get this show started, you and me, Carlos. Are you ready?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. And Dan, Dan's having some slight audio issues, but Dan, if you're ready.
Are you good?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You sound, yeah, it's good now.
Is it better? Okay.
Yeah. I don't hear that weird sound anymore.
I think we had some slight technical issues.
I don't know why.
But glad you're back with us, Dan. Let's get this started. Dan, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanksgiving slate, the Packers over the Lions 29-22.
Surprising, but also not surprising. It felt like this was definitely going to be a trap game for the Lions, and the Lions just never win on Thanksgiving for some reason. But great win by
the same.
Yeah, it was a waxing gibbous, is it? And they've never won when that type of moon is out.
It's just crazy.
But yeah, no, great win by the Packers. They're starting to come. They're starting to come alive. Surprisingly, they're still in the playoff hunt. And again, it's another thing, man. Stop writing off quarterbacks too early. Jordan Love is actually looking pretty decent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think he's a good example of they've tried to put some pieces around him. Obviously, just a little bit more than some
young team. Also, it's a very young team. They're the youngest roster in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, Lions gonna revert to their old ways. What can I say?
Well, we'll see. But I think they definitely dropped an opportunity here to really put the pressure on the Eagles to get that number 1 seed.
Definitely.
Moving right along, the 49ers with an all-around complete performance over the Seattle Seahawks, 31-13.
Again, this is how the 49ers do it when they have the Avengers together. So it's not really much to say. It'll be interesting seeing them against the Eagles.
It was a whooping.
The first ever Black Friday NFL game featured the Dolphins and the Jets. 34-13, the Dolphins over the Jets.
The Jets need to be demoted to the minor league system.
Relegated? We're going to bring relegation into football?
Yes.
They would never allow it.
Oh, my goodness.
People pay too much for these franchises.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Moving right along, the Titans over the Panthers, 17-10.
Yep, nothing to say here.
Nothing really to say. The Giants over the Patriots, 10-7.
This game was terrible, and
the Patriots stink.
It's hilarious that the Patriots lost because their kicker that they drafted in the 4th round couldn't make a 39-yard kick.
Well,
Belichick, he's brilliant.
Well, from that game to a very exciting game, the Jaguars over the Texans, 24-21. This was a game, ladies and gentlemen, where I kid you not, Trevor Lawrence's interception was because the guy got held. I mean, officiating was clear as day.
It's been bad all season in every game, Kirby. You could complain about officiating in every game.
I mean, we can complain about it definitely during the Bills-Eagles game. There was plenty of missed calls there. It's just been terrible. The NFL needs to finally address it because now, now we're going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but like now that there's so much money, at stake in terms of betting, and then just on top of that, just this is $1 billion organization. You have some of the most valuable teams in the world playing, in this league, and your officials are part-timers who are just god awful. Something needs to change for sure. College football is actually like way ahead of the curve on this in terms of their officiating because they do a lot of assisted refereeing where, they have a centralized whatever unit, which the NFL does have with their New York command center, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They need to help these guys out because it's clear they can't do it based on their eyes anymore.
Yeah. And they're just, they're changing certain outcomes in these games, not necessarily the overall outcome.
Also, there's so many rules that are just not clear. Like, what is a fumble? What is a catch?
Yeah, we're still talking about what a catch is. We still don't know.
Subjective game to game. It makes no sense.
Agreed.
But overall, very good game that came down to a Texans missed field goal. But CJ Stroud still looking pretty good. This Texans team might be a problem in years to come.
Yeah, they have to continue to trust the process and build. I know it goes against what most teams are doing, But
Absolutely.
But I think they definitely have the right infrastructure in place now. I think they have the right head coach, and obviously they have the right, they have their future quarterback.
Yep, agreed. It's usually what it takes.
Stroud was awesome, but like you said, Dan, his offensive line was very leaky in this game.
Out there.
Just moving on in this division, a very terrible division. The Falcons beat the Saints 24-15.
Oh my God, dude. It's just, I don't even want to talk about these teams. I don't want to talk about the NFC South. Can we just ban the NFC South? Can we auction off their playoff
spot? Alabama. No, I'm just kidding. I knew they would kill Alabama, but
can we just auction off their playoff spot and just give it to, because this is going to be, because look, at this point, it looks like Dallas is going to get the 5th seed. I just think with Philly, the way they won, we're going to touch on them here in a second. I just think that Dallas is going to get the 5th seed, and for the second year in a row, they're going to play a team that might not even have a winning record, and then they might win, 13, 12 games, and again have to go on the road. I just don't think that's fair at all.
Yeah, it's started to become a problem in the last 3 to 4 years. We've seen it. We saw it when Washington won the NFC East. It's like 7-9 team.
Yes. Yeah.
Team with a losing record in the playoffs. This is just not a good look.
Hosting a playoff game to a team that won significantly more, it makes no sense, because it's just like, what the heck is the point then? Like, why just because you win a division does that automatically guarantee you a home playoff game?
I agree.
It should be, sure, it guarantees you a playoff berth, but it shouldn't guarantee you a playoff game.
Agreed.
Moving on, the Steelers over the Bengals 16-10. I know this game.
Matt Canada's gone, and the Steelers put up 400+ yards of offense, and that results in 16 points.
Yeah, this game was pulling teeth, in my opinion. It was pretty rough to watch.
Yeah, agreed.
The Colts over the Bucs 27-20.
Baker Baker stinks. I thought maybe I had some faith in him at like week 3 or 4, but nope.
Yeah, no, it's just not there. He's just not that guy.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson and the Broncos cooking with a 29-12 victory over the Browns.
Yeah, great. I mean, look, Denver 5-game winning streak. They've beaten some good teams along the way. Obviously, they beat the Chiefs. Granted, I will always say it's because Patrick Mahomes had the flu. But at the same time, they still won.
Beat the Bills.
Yeah, right? They beat the Bills. Yeah, they beat the Bills. They fired off, some good wins here, and they're back in the playoff hunt. But will they make the playoffs? I don't think so. But I think this team is definitely finally starting to play up to Sean Payton's expectations, I guess, and very well may win Coach of the Year.
I agree with that. I think Sean Payton, the Broncos just have to give Payton some time to establish what he wants in Denver, which I think that.
I guess the only problem is that now you got to ask yourselves the questions: what do we do with Russell Wilson? Because now he's playing pretty well, and it's just like, oh, do we keep him or do we stick to our original plan of moving on? Like, what do we do?
I think if they continue to win and they're in the playoff hunt, I think they have to keep him. I do. And that's going to be tough. And that's going to be tough because he gave you a year and a half of really bad quarterback play.
But granted, he had Nathaniel Hackett for most of that time. And as you can see with the Jets, Nathaniel Hackett's just not good.
It's just bad. Yeah.
At least without Aaron Rodgers, he's not good.
Yeah, it's if you would have told me that the Broncos were going to be in the situation where they won 5 straight games, where they gave up 70 points in week 2 or 3, whenever that was, to the Dolphins.
That real quick, that 70-point game against the Dolphins is still affecting them, at least like statistics wise. Like they're still last in the league in a lot of categories because of that 70-point game. Even though they've been playing fantastic, they cannot get that 70-point game to bump them up at all statistically. It's crazy.
You just have to give Sean Payton credit to be able to get this team to bounce back like they have. Because, a lot of teams
after getting beat 70,
a lot of 95% of teams that would give up 70 points would just give up. They would just nosedive and just say, we're tanking for the rest of the season. But you got to give Sean Payton credit. He's done a good job, and I've been critical of him. Was definitely critical of him after that 70-point drubbing that they not 70-point, but
And as for the Browns, man, they're now Myles Garrett looks like he's hurt. Obviously they lost DTR in this game.
That was a brutal hit.
You're already without Nick Chubb.
It's going to be Joe Flacco time here before too long, boys.
Yeah, honestly,
Joe Flacco.
Yeah, can get all Trader Joe's over there. That's
going to be so weird to see him in a Browns jersey.
Dude,
oh, God.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. The Browns, I'm having some concerns about them making the playoffs right now.
I agree.
Moving right along, the Rams over the Cardinals 37-14.
Skip.
Cardinals stink. Kyler stinks. All right.
In overtime thriller, the Philadelphia Eagles over the Buffalo Bills 37-34. And I know, Carlos, you were very upset with this. And obviously, why aren't we calling a horse tackle on a clearly Josh Allen with a ripped uniform?
So the explanation why, because the NFL came out with it, their explanation why there was no horse collar tackle called on that is because they're saying he was not being pulled from the back of his pads, and while he was being pulled from the front, it was the jersey, it wasn't the pads, which is legal. You're allowed to tug on the jersey. Obviously, that was not. I mean, look, the officiating in that game was definitely one-sided. It felt like the Eagles were getting no calls, like nothing was getting called on the Eagles at all. There was some clear pass interferences a lot of times. There's clear holdings on that last drive where the Eagles got into field goal territory. I mean, I saw a few holds that I was like, "Where's the flag?" It definitely raises some questions as to why these referees were not calling any fouls against the Eagles. But overall, man, it was a good game. Obviously we all picked the Eagles to win, but it was a case of like, you kind of started. I mean, I'm starting to really feel bad for, the Bills right now because Josh Allen played an incredible game. And yes, he had the awful interception in this game, but he's the reason why they even got the lead back. I mean, that last drive that he had where he was literally doing it on his own, making it happen. He had an incredible game, and it's the Josh Allen experience. He has lows, but he has a lot of highs, and his highs are phenomenal to watch. It's just, man, the biggest, thing is Sean McDermott being a coward and not going for it. I mean, look, what is, and I mean, this has been brought up on a few shows that I've seen, is like, what is the, what is the defining moment of this era of the Bills? It's the 13-second game against the Chiefs. They had 13 seconds and 2 timeouts. The Bills had 20 seconds and 1 timeout, and that's because they used the timeout, to try to ice Jake Elliott, which was the dumbest move ever because
holy cow, that kick though that
kick was great, but it was a dumb move to try to ice him because you then gave him time to just settle down. Whereas if you didn't call the timeout, he was gonna have to rush out there and kick it.
Yeah, and but that's a lot of times icing works though too.
Icing, there's no statistic that proves that icing works. No, there is none out there, and most of the time when kickers miss is because they're rushed, and he was gonna have to be rushed in that situation. It was awful weather, but then he got to take a second. He went over, got a couple practice kicks in on the net, which I think was the mistake there by Sean McDermott, calling the timeout there instead of maybe saving your timeouts and then, just going and give Josh Allen a chance, man. 20 seconds. Patrick Mahomes did it in 13. You just have to get down in a field goal range. You don't have to score a touchdown there. And then, of course, the heartbreaking part of overtime where I thought it was a touchdown to Gabe Davis. I thought the way it looked like on TV, it looked like it was going right to him. And then it somehow ended on the other side. I was like, wait, what? What just happened?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen has not won an overtime game, at least in a big-time overtime game.
That's pretty crazy.
I think the Bills are done. I think being at 6, I think had they won, they would have had a fighting chance. But even if they run the rest of the table, let's say they win out the rest of the schedule, all their losses are AFC losses, and of course this is an NFC loss, but the majority of their losses are AFC losses, so they will not have any tiebreakers. And you have to focus on the teams that are around them that are going to have the tiebreakers over them, and they're going to jump up. I don't really know what the Bills do. I think this is a lost season at this point, and I think they're gonna have. I think it might be time to move on from Sean McDermott. I think he did a great job of bringing them to this point, but I just don't think he's the guy to take them over the hump. And as for the Eagles, man, the luckiest team of all time. I despise them so much, dude. It just makes no sense how they can be playing so badly. Jalen Hurts had 13 yards in the first half, 33 yards, something like that.
Those fantasy numbers weren't that good for me in the first.
Nobody cares
half.
about your fantasy numbers.
In the second half,
nobody cares about your fantasy numbers.
Enough about your fantasy football. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure you're in last place in that league too.
Nah, it's a close race, bud.
Oh, is it? So you're in last place.
Jesus.
It's a close race for last place?
No, I'm not in last place.
Oh.
Second to last.
We're in like a 4-way tie for fourth place right now.
Oh, fourth place. Oh, well, if you ain't first, you're last, my boy. So Rick and Bobby. But anywho, yeah, no, I mean, Eagles luckiest team. They're getting all these calls. They can play awful for the first half and then somehow get it going in the second half, and you can't let them hang around. And that was the issue the Chiefs ran into, and that's the issue that the Bills ran into. If you let this team hang around, they're going to figure it out at some point. And hopefully San Francisco doesn't do that. And hopefully Dallas just blows them out of the water too when they play them. And, humbles this team, because this team right now is a little too arrogant for no reason, because they've really not won impressively, but they've somehow won. And again, I hate Nick Sirianni with a passion. That dumb story that came out that he couldn't find Sean McDermott, so then he went and looked for him to shake
I was
his
about to ask you. You think that's true?
That's such a dick move. You wanted to rub it in, just let it go, bro. Don't do that. A classy move, my ass. Get out of here. What about? I hate Nick Sirianni. I hate that man.
He's like, oh, I slept on the couch all week. I didn't. It's like, who cares? You're an NFL coach. Sometimes you'll have to make those sacrifices. Don't be an ass about it. But he is. So, yeah, I think you said it well, Carlos. I do think your hate for the Eagles is. I mean, I get it. Listen, I get it. You're a Dallas fan. I get it.
Though. But at the same time,
Nick Sirianni's fitting.
But hold on. But at the same time,
they won.
I admire the fact that they can pull it through, though, because that is something that I wish I could always rely on my team to do. Because there are situations where the Cowboys will be in. Now, with the Chiefs, it's less because the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. But the Cowboys historically have not been able to do that, right? Yeah. Think about when they play the Eagles. They were not. They were literally at the 5-yard line and they couldn't punch it in and win the game. But with the Eagles, it's they'll play a horrible first half, but then they just get going. And then they start making plays. Devontae Smith gets open and is always open somehow. And it's something I do respect about this team is just their tenacity and their ability. And they just know how to win. They don't freak out. They stay calm. And I admire that about them. But I hate Philly for how arrogant they are for a team that lost the Super Bowl, and I hate their head coach because he's a dickhead.
And he going back to the Chiefs game, he yelled at Chiefs fans too. I'm like this man is just
my guy. Who has the ring? We got the ring. You want
I wasn't saying that.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking I'm not talking. Yeah, I'm just saying saying to Nick Sirianni, dude, you have won nothing. You got to the Super Bowl. You guys had the lead and you lost it to a gimpy Patrick Mahomes and his band of misfits. Yeah. Get out of here. You don't hear what? Hey, I don't see them. And yeah, you don't see that. You don't see us because the trophy is gleaming in your face. The ring is shining a little too brightly in your eyes. Get out of here.
Dan, I do have a question for you though, because I this was last week, I think. Jalen Hurts in the press conferences, I don't know what his deal is. Yeah, or I guess you're not following me, but
I haven't. I do not watch player press conferences, Kirby.
But anyways, Hurts was talking, was getting asked a question about other quarterbacks and if he watches other quarterbacks and stuff, and he's like, "I'm just waiting for a Bills question."
I don't think that's.
I don't really see why we need to bring this up.
Yeah,
I think a lot of reporters ask dumb questions, if you want me to be honest.
They do.
Which is why when I was doing that job, I never asked any questions because I didn't want to sound dumb. So, sometimes it's better to just
at least they have more time to think their like questions through. Like when I did it for Shenandoah, and this is just high school football. I mean, trying to write questions down on the fly, it is kind of hard. So you kind of go with like basic questions.
No, it is. It's not an easy.
Also, when you're filming, also it's kind of hard too.
Yeah. It is tough, but it's also like that's the type of question you ask during the week, right? You ask that like when a more relaxed and laid back environment than you do after a game, after a heated game that came down to the very end, and probably Jalen is just worn out and exhausted.
This was a during the week press conference too.
All right.
All right, dude. You know what? We've spent too. This is supposed to be a breeze. Let's move on. This is so irrelevant. Who cares?
It is. I derailed it once again. I thought you saw it. That's why I was asking.
But Carlos covered it perfectly. I mean, he pretty much covered it from every angle. So I don't have much to add.
Absolutely. Last but not least.
This is least.
Oh no, it was definitely least. It was definitely least.
The Bears and the Vikings.
Bears win without scoring a touchdown.
Just terrible.
Dumbest league of all time.
I look at the score. I'm like, how?
12
and Joshua Dobbs 4 interceptions.
He was really bad.
Really bad in this game. He really was. But hey, guys, guess what? Good news. Justin Jefferson's coming back. So
that might help.
It might help. It might really help.
I mean, the score line is indicative of we're skipping this game.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So we're done.
Now it's time for the Kirby on Sports PickEm.
That was the most energy he's had all day. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go, Kirby.
Yeah. Hey, now, I'm going to rewind that. It's time for the Kirby on Sports PickEm. And let's send it to our very own creator of the Kirby on Sports PickEm, Carlos Martinez.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, week 12 is in the books. We have arrived at week 13. Man, at the end of the season, we're getting closer and closer. Well, Dan, the impossible is now possible.
It was never impossible. I never said
it was impossible. Is now possible. Okay.
Anything to talk yourself up. I get it.
Listen. I'm not going to brag too much because at the end of the day, you're still in first place. Okay. It's not like I've caught up to you. It's not like we're tied. It's not like I overtook you, but I have closed the gap.
Good change.
And I'm within striking distance. That's it. No, not a lot of trash talk to be said here, because I know it's not going to be easy to overtake you. You're gonna make me fight for it. I'm okay with that. So after 12 beautiful weeks of football, our records currently stand, the standings currently are: Dan remains in first place at 46 and 26. If my calculations were correct, hold on, I don't have them pulled up. This is bad job by me. Bad job by me.
I guess we forgive you.
Hold on. Here we go. Okay. So yeah, Dan is at 46 and 26. He went 4-2 for the week. I am in second place at 45 and 27. I went 5-1 for the week. And Kirby, the resident last place spot, we're calling it the Kirby zone from now on. Good old cream cheese is 39 and 33, and he went 3-3 for the week.
Thank you.
And he's 7 games behind me.
I'll take the participation trophy.
Yes,
Thank you.
He is currently 7. Well, the participation trophy is you at the draft show wearing a big loser sign the whole show. So, I mean, do you really want that? I don't know. But I don't want to say it's safe to say that we're in the clear of Kirby, but
pretty much
it's going to be really hard for him to get back into this race. But But anyway, so we are going to be picking, of course, 6 games. This week's games are Seahawks, Cowboys, the marquee game, 49ers, Eagles. We'll be doing Broncos, Texans, Browns, Rams, Lions, Saints, and Colts, Titans. I will, of course, start things off. And I will be taking the Cowboys, of course, because I'm always contractually obligated to take my boys, even when I don't want to, but you don't hear me complaining about it the way Josh Kirby complains about pretty much anything that me and Dan have to do. And then for some reason, he thinks he's special and he doesn't have to do it. But we'll leave that for another day.
I digress.
I will be taking the 49ers. It is crazy to me that the 49ers are away favorites and that the Eagles are home underdogs. It's crazy to me because, yeah, sure, the Eagles haven't looked overly impressive, but at the same time, they're winning. And they do have one of the best rosters. So it'll be interesting to see, I think. But I'm going to go with the 49ers. I just think the 49ers are, I mean, if the Eagles continue looking the way they do, the 49ers offense is not going to let them hang around. They're just not. They're too talented. It's the Avengers we're talking about here. And, of course, the San Francisco defense is very good as well. But it can go either way. I will be taking the Texans over the Broncos. I just think CJ Stroud is just playing on another level. And, yeah, granted, Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos are playing well. I just think the Texans are going to win it. I got the Rams beating the Browns. I originally had the Browns, but then the Myles Garrett injury news came out that he, obviously he was in a sling and it's not looking good. And the Rams played a fantastic game against the Cardinals. So I think I really like how the Rams are looking right now. So I'm going to pick the Rams. Detroit will bounce back against New Orleans. Derek Carr is awful. And Jared Goff is going to have a bounce back game. I think Dan Campbell is going to have these guys ready to go. And then this is just kind of a bad slate of games. So I'm going to take the Colts over the Titans. I just think the Colts have a little more to play for at this point. They're in the playoff. They're actually in the playoffs right now. I think they're the 6th seed. And I think they're going to have something to want to play for. And with that being said, I will send it over to the number 1 contender, Dan.
Thank you, Carlos. Yes, I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys as the home team over the Seattle Seahawks. I just think Dallas is playing great football right now, and that continues in Jerry World. They will get a pretty comfortable win against Seattle.
13-game home winning streak.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles over the San Francisco 49ers. This is a very tough game. But I do give the Eagles, even though Vegas doesn't like this, I do give the Eagles a slight edge because they are at home. Hostile environment for the 49ers to come into.
I wish the Eagles were wearing the Kelly Greens for this game. This should have been the game they wore the Kelly Greens.
They look so good. They look so good. But I think this game is going to come down to the end. This could, this matchup could be one of the best games we've seen this season, certainly. Or
it could be a boat race by the 49ers.
Yeah. So I think the Eagles will pull that one out at the end there. I'm going to take the Broncos over the Texans. This one was a tough one for me because, as Carlos alluded to, CJ Stroud is just playing insane football right now, playing really well. But the Broncos, to me, they have more to prove yet. I think with the way they've played in the last 5 games, their luck's going to continue in this game. They're going to go on the road and beat Houston. It might not be pretty, but the Broncos will get it done, and Russ will continue to cook. It used to just be fire coming from that kitchen, but now there's a little bit of something there. He's making some edible food. It's not quite gourmet, but it's edible. Okay.
I love it. I love it.
I will take the Rams over the Browns. The Rams are just this game's also difficult to pick. The Rams are sort of wishy-washy. You really don't know what you're going to get, but the Browns are banged up and they're not playing good football right now. So I think the Rams at home will get the win against the Browns. I'm going to take the Lions over the Saints. Lions are clearly the better team right now. And, as Carlos alluded to, I think they'll bounce back well after a loss, and the Saints are just bad right now. Let's call them what they are. And then finally, I'm going to take the Colts over the Titans. This game was sort of a flip of the coin for me. I feel like both these teams are in similar situations right now. I like the Colts slightly better. And again, I think it's going to be another one of those things where it's an ugly win. So, and with that, I throw it to the CEO, founder, and cream cheese, Josh Kirby.
Yes. Thank you, Dan. I will be picking the Dallas Cowboys. I think their home winning streak continues. They're playing very good football. I honestly think Duron Bland will have another pick six, maybe some leftover turkey in that Salvation Army Bowl. Who knows? This one is a tough one. I think slightly the 49ers, because the Eagles the past couple of weeks have tended to get off to some slow starts, which I think the 49ers are going to just attack them. If they start off slow, the 49ers are going to take that as an advantage. And that's why I think the 49ers, but I'm not surprised if the Eagles win. The Broncos, they are heating up. I think they have a chance to win this game, but again, I'm not surprised if the Texans win either, but I'll be picking
the Broncos. Have confidence in your picks.
What do you mean? I'm confident, but I'm just saying I'm not surprised if the other team wins. But the Broncos, again, they are heating up, and I think it comes down to just protecting Russell Wilson, making good decisions, and they're going to win this football game. The Rams over the Browns, obviously, with everything going on with the Browns, I think the Rams have the slight edge. The Lions bounce back and flip of the coin, the Colts over the Titans. And that is the Kirby.
Whoa. Now let's talk scenarios here real quick. Okay.
I'm sorry. I forgot we're adding scenarios to this.
Well, I'm not doing the odds thing. I didn't have time to make that. No, just scenario wise. I mean, I could overtake Dan this week if our two picks go. I can either fall back 2 games, or I could go ahead again. I can overtake. Just because we have 2 different picks in the 49ers. I'm taking 49ers Texans. You're taking Eagles Broncos.
It's tough. It's so tough.
I mean, we end the week in a tie and like we go 1-1. We split.
That could happen too.
Either way, something's changing this week. Either I'm falling more behind it, or I'm going to fall back behind again, and Dan is going to take a slight lead, or he's going to increase his slight lead just by a little bit. Either way, I won't be out of it. Or we're going to be tied, or I'm going to take a 1-game lead. So this is going to be an exciting week, boys. It really will be.
Very nervous.
Pick'ems wise. I'm not gonna lie, I'm nervous too. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And of course, no matter what, Kirby's in last place, so nothing will change there.
No, really, I'm gonna be in last place. Thanks for pointing.
Hey man, don't get frustrated about it. That's your own fault for making.
You just mentioned it at the top of the segment.
I'm gonna mention it every time because this. I mean, you're seriously about to go 3 for 3. We expanded the time period this year from to the whole season to instead of just the playoffs, and you still manage to be in last place.
I get you.
Hats off. Really, hats off to you, sir.
Thanks. That takes talent, bro. That really does.
I guess so. But with that, the week 13 NFL Pick'em. As always, you pick with us once we post these picks on Facebook. You pick with us. You get the most amount of picks correct for the week. You win a free large cheese pizza from Anthony's Pizza, home of the Warriors in Stevens City. Thanks again for Anthony's Pizza. And I'm telling you, with some of that pizza, if you win, it's a good energy boost along with Don't Sleep Energy. Make sure you check them out. Promo code KOS Podcast for 12% off your order on don'tsleepenergy.com.
No sense.
Of course. But That about wraps it up for episode 194 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. A huge thanks to our sponsors, PM Plus Reserve, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett Pest and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, Shenandoah Music, Don't Sleep Energy. Use promo code KOS Podcast for 12% off your order every single time. Make sure you find us on all streaming platforms and all social media platforms. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, 5-star rating, bell for notifications. Everything, every little bit helps us. So I appreciate all the support. As Carlos mentioned at the top, I took 1 step forward this week, 3 steps back this week.
Wait, what? That made you took 1 step forward last week. What 3 steps back this week?
Yes, 1 step forward last week, 3 steps back this week. Carlos, take it away.
Oh, there's not much to say here, boys, but how about them Cowboys?
Adding salt to the wound. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in.